One of the most important activities as a public official is interacting with the residents of the city. Public engagement should be the foundation of good governance. And that's why on today's show, we're going to highlight how the City of Westland is giving our citizens the ability to get easily engaged in shaping the decisions that affect them and our community directly. Joining us today to explain is our Economic Development Director, Aubrey Berman, who will tell us how residents and stakeholders can be directly involved in our comprehensive economic development strategies. Mohamed Ayoub, our Planning Director, will explain all the current and upcoming plans he's implementing to get your input on some very exciting new initiatives that will be developing soon. Our Communications Specialist, Megan Kirk, will join me to tell us how the city uses our social media outlets and our website to directly engage with the people of the All-American City. From economic development and planning forums to Facebook and tweets, all that's coming up next on In the W. Hello, I'm Mayor William Wild, and welcome to another episode of In the W. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about public engagement and the importance of that. And joining us here in Studio W is the City of Westland's Economic Development Director, Aubrey Berman.
Thanks for having me, Mayor.
Well, welcome to In the W, Aubrey.
Thank you.
So Aubrey, today we're talking about the importance of public participation, public engagement. And we've talked a lot in the past about how you're heading up our city's efforts to become a redevelopment ready cities program through the MEDC through the state of Michigan. And a big part of that is focused on public engagement. And it actually requires a comprehensive public participation plan. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, and that is one of the first things that we undertook when we became engaged in the process because it really applies to everything else that you do. And so the public participation strategy for the community is used to identify effective and proactive tools that will increase transparency, and it requires the municipality to often seek public input and then record and share those results so that you can kind of make tweaks and figure out where you're successful and maybe where you also need improvement. So we use this plan essentially as kind of a communication toolbox, and we use it, when we undertake city projects and then also through the private development process as well.
Okay, so it's not that as a community that we haven't done public engagement in the past, but this is actually, it'll have a formalized plan so that moving forward we'll have basically a plan that the citizens understand how it works, but also here elected officials understand it as well.
Sure, and you also, it kind of forces you to think outside the box a bit. Maybe you tend to use certain forms of communication for certain projects or for certain departments, and this kind of allows us to think more broadly about all of the different communication strategies that we have and ensure that we're engaging a diverse set of stakeholders and getting as much community input as possible, across the board and kind of in a streamlined and cohesive method.
All right, so Aubrey, you actually are working on a couple of projects that you're reaching out to the public and asking for their engagement on. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. So the big one is our comprehensive economic development strategy. This is also a requirement under the RRC program, and so we're bringing in all of the public engagement methods for that one. The first kind of step we took was to create a survey and get as much community input as we possibly could. We had well over 100 respondents for that survey, and we made sure to target different areas of the community, different stakeholder groups, from nonprofits to the schools to the business community to residents from all across the city. So the results of that survey will really kind of guide us in the implementation and the creation of our economic development strategic plan. In addition to that, a part of the process was to conduct confidential stakeholder interviews with, again, different groups of the community to try to get, as many different opinions and viewpoints as possible. And then finally, we held a stakeholder event, and we brought in We invited, all of the people that participated in that process, as well as everyone from the public. We, of course, we targeted, tried to invite as many business owners, local business owners, small business owners as possible. And we had a collaborative work session where we went over the results of the survey, the results of the interviews, and also broke out into smaller groups and kind of prioritized and strategized of what the City of Westland's priority economic development strategy should be going forward. So
Aubrey, why do you think that, well, first of all, what's your feedback? How do you think it went? I mean, do you think that now that you've had a chance to do that, what was your opinion of the engagement?
I think it was great. I think everybody tends to, look at things through their own personal lens, right? And so when you get a big, diverse group of people together and they're all, interested and passionate about the topic, and they all kind of bring something different to the table, I think you really get some fascinating results from that, and you end up with a final product that is really comprehensive and representative of the entire community's needs.
Are there still opportunities for the public to participate?
Yeah, absolutely. We will have another stakeholder event a little bit closer towards the end of the planning process, where we'll kind of go over the draft plan and get some final feedback and kind of get some direction from, to make sure that we're headed in the right direction. Okay.
Now, Aubrey, I know that as part of your duties, you operate a lot of meetings and boards and commissions. Are there opportunities for, other than the things you just talked about, are there annual meetings or monthly meetings that the public can participate in? And can you tell folks how they can do that and where they can learn more about it?
Sure. So I am in charge of overseeing 3 different boards with the city. That's the EDC, which also serves as the city's TIFA board, and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. Those meetings are at 8 a.m. on the second Tuesday of every month here at City Hall, finally back in person, so we're happy about that. And so that's any projects, we discuss any projects that take place in the TIFA district. That's the area kind of right where we're at today around City Hall. Also, the Downtown Development Authority meetings are the fourth Thursday of every month, also at 8 a.m. here at City Hall. And that's, we discuss all the projects and planning for all of the businesses and properties within the DDA district. And then we have the LDFA, the Local Development Finance Authority. Those meetings are the 3rd Friday of March, June, September, and November. And I know that's a lot, so all of them are always posted on our city website. And you can also, go there. You can see the entire schedule of all of the city's meetings, which are always open to the public. We also have 2 annual informational meetings for each of those boards. And so anyone who's maybe a little bit unfamiliar about what those boards do or how they operate or, how they're making their decisions, we take, twice a year. They're usually in June and December. And we have an informational meeting where members of the public can come and we discuss the progress that has been made throughout the year on the currently adopted development plan for each of those boards.
All right. Well, thank you, and we appreciate your work on heading up all those boards, working on the economic development strategy, and I like the fact that you understand and you appreciate the importance of public engagement.
Well, thank you, Mayor.
So, all right, Aubrey. Well, with that, we're going to let you get back to work, and we're going to take a quick break. And stay tuned, we'll be right back with more In the W.
Coming up next, Mayor Wild talks with Westland Planning Director Mo Ayoub on In the W.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Welcome back to In the W. So today we're talking about public engagement and the importance of it as we continue to make progress here in the All-American City. And joining us now is the City of Westland's planner, Mo Ayoub.
Hello, Mayor.
Mo, welcome to In the W.
Thank you.
And so Mo, planners, probably engage with the public probably more so than in most other departments. Mo, in your opinion, why do planners engage the public?
Sure, I'm going to blow my cover here. So planners aren't really experts in anything. We're more so viewed as the research arm for the city. So we engage with DPS, engineering, economic developers to try and create solutions or to try and help developers move forward with their projects. So we also have to understand and inform the public of what's going on too, so we can tap into their collective intelligence and the diverse understanding of the community. Developers, planners, economic developers, they don't live oftentimes within the community, so we have to understand what their concerns are, whether there's a development going on, whether there's a road project going on, sewer project, whatever project is going on. Oftentimes planners are tasked with understanding what the residents' concerns, opinions, and desires are, to bring that back to the table, into the conference rooms where all of the experts are, and to kind of stand up for the residents during those projects and proposals and things like that. So I would say that's the biggest role that planners play in facilitating different types of conversations on behalf of the residents during developments and projects.
All right, well, with that said, so some of you at home may have received a letter from Mo in the mail talking about a lot of different things. I'm going to go into some of the things you got coming up, but Mo, on certain projects that, like you mentioned, people will get a letter in the mail from the planning department saying that somebody is rezoning a property or there's a project. How does that work, and how do you figure out who actually gets that public notice?
So there's a couple different ways we identify who gets a public notice. So we have state mandated requirements for developments that go to the Planning Commission and Zoning Board and then end up at the City Council. We are required to send everyone a notice within 300 feet of that project. It's measured from property line to property line. We also post that on the website. We also post it on a bulletin board outside, and it goes in the newspaper. So we try and get that out about 15 days before the meeting so we can get collective feedback from the community. Oftentimes developers call us not developers, business owners that are adjacent to the development call us what's going on. So we try and answer many of the questions before the meeting, but people also have the opportunity to come to the meeting, Planning Commission, Zoning Board, City Council, and ask their questions, raise their concerns, and then the body that's tasked with making the approval or denial can either facilitate a conversation between the developer and the residents to change things, or they can express their support or whatever it may be. So we try to inform the public so that they're equipped with their answers or questions before they come to the meeting.
Well, that's a great way of public engagement because, like Mo mentioned, if you receive a notice because something's happening within 300 feet of your house, the people that live in that area, I mean, they're experts. I mean, they've got investments in that area. They've bought their houses. They know the neighborhood, probably better than we do, and the decision makers. So that is great input. And what I like is that through our processes that we have here is that that those voices are listened to, and a lot of times we see projects change or tweaked with suggestions from the neighbors. So Mo, let's talk about other ways that you're engaging with the public right now. And one of the things that that you've recently done is we've kicked off. We've been trying to bring bike lanes to the city of Westland for a long time, and I know we're behind the curve, and it's a lot easier to do those when you're building a new city or building new roads as opposed to trying to go back later and put in bike lanes. But you've identified the Wildwood bike way, and you recently had some public engagement on that. Can you talk a little bit about what you did and why you thought that was important?
Sure. So we recently had a public engagement session over at JC Park, and we invited the residents over to learn about the bikeway, but we wanted to not only inform the residents, but we wanted to pick the residents' brains to see if this is something they wanted, to see if this is something that works for them from an impact on their daily lives, commutes. What we did is design a bike lane from Warren to Glenwood along along Wildwood Road. That does not change the configuration of the road, so it stays exactly the way it is. Something interesting I learned at the public meeting that wasn't really anything I was thinking about from the residents was, is it going to affect where I place my garbage bin? And you never really think about that stuff until you engage and talk with the residents that have to deal with that, not only every day, but every single hour of when they're at home. So we were able to answer their questions. Before the meeting, there were several concerns based off that letter that we sent. People that called expressing concern about speed limits and people racing down the road. And while that's not directly tied with the construction or installation of that bike lane, we were able to bring out police with us to answer some of those concerns and questions. So that's one way that we're engaging the residents on a project that is not related to development in the city. And we actually went to the residents this time instead of having them come to City Hall by having it at J.C. Park under the new pavilion.
Did you think that that was more that they appreciated that, or they, I mean, they like a little less formal session?
Yeah.
And sometimes coming to city council can be very intimidating for people.
So this was more of like I would say, a community engagement.
Yeah.
Putting them in charge as opposed to here at City Hall, more formal. Yeah, I mean, you said it right. We wanted to make them feel like they were at home on their turf so they can be more effective in their questions, their dialogue, and their communication with us.
All right. Well, nice job on that, Mo. And then there's another plan that you're working on that you're soliciting public engagement. That's the walk and roll plan. So what is that?
So Wildwood Bikeway is the very first bikeway in the city. And the walk and roll plan is the very first attempt and vision strategy that we are undertaking to organize and collect information about where bike lanes can go in the city, and not only studying the roads and where bike lanes can go, but also identifying pedestrian improvements. So we're looking at various crosswalks in the city, not all of them, but ones that are heavily used, and trying to identify how we can fix those, how we can improve them. Some of the traffic signals are outdated. Some of the traffic signals aren't timed correctly, so we're trying to understand how we can improve those and enhance those as well. So as it relates to community engagement, what we've done with that is identified various groups that we are collecting input from. We have various public meetings to invite the public to come to those and learn, and also inform us. And we also have a steering committee full of residents that we equip with the right information, understanding, and tools to be able to understand in detail what we're doing, to be able to tell us this is not going to work, why this is not going to work. They'll answer that for us. And we're putting together this plan with those various levels of input. So part of the plan, we have community engagement sessions. This is what came out of that. Steering committee, this is what came out of that. This is what staff is recommending. This is what the engineers are recommending. So we have all of those four incorporated into the plan, so we can kind of pick and choose, and also maybe combine or modify as we want.
Well, very, very nice. And so two quick things. One is the timing of this is perfect. I mean, I know our viewers have heard this before, is that unfortunately in Southeast Michigan, communities were built around the automobile as opposed to the people that live here. And so with this walk and roll plan, I think gives us a chance to readdress that in our community. But I think the timing of it's perfect is because I think we saw with the pandemic is that more people than I've ever seen before are out walking in the neighborhoods. They're walking the thoroughfares. So I think that by us doing this and taking a look at those pedestrian walkways is very timely, and I know that it's going to be very appreciated. Is there still opportunities for people to either be part of your steering committees or attend meetings or surveys? Is there anything still available for them?
Thanks for bringing that up. So we have a website that we created as part of the walk and roll plan. It's walkrollwestland.com.
Okay.
People can log in, put their email address, and get informed on the project. They can also view documents that are related to the projects. There's contact information, and they can also fill out the survey on there. There's also going to be a public engagement session, again, coming up. We don't have the date identified, but it will be posted on that website as well.
All right, well, very good. So Mo, we're getting short on time, but I want to touch on the zoning ordinance update. That's something that our viewers may have heard us talk about at the City Council, perhaps during our strategic planning sessions that we did. Can you talk a little bit about the zoning ordinance update, what we're doing, why it's important? Is there an opportunity for the public to engage?
Sure. So being a planner, one of the biggest things I hear is your ordinances are too complicated, your regulations, there's too much, et cetera, et cetera. And oftentimes it's not from the developers because they have architects, engineers, and all that stuff. But also residents have to engage in these regulations and understand them too, whether it be for a pool, for a fence, for replacing their roof or whatever it is. So we have a zoning ordinance that was written in the early 80s and hasn't been comprehensively updated or modified since then. And you can just imagine all of not only the land uses and businesses, but also all of the technology that's changed since then too. So what we're going to be doing for not only the residents, but to become more developer friendly, is update the zoning ordinance, comprehensively rewrite it, but also put it in a format that's easy to navigate with links, with pictures, so people don't have to read all of the text. They can understand what the boundaries are, where they can put things and where they can't put things. So it'll just be a little bit more easy to read, better to understand, and easier to navigate as well. So we pushed that RFP out a couple weeks ago to see which consultants may be interested. And in a couple weeks, we'll be engaging consultants to see if they're the right fit for the city to do the job. And in the spring of next year, we'll have that ordinance wrapped up and on the city's web pages for the public to view and work with.
Okay. Well, it's hard to believe that it hasn't been updated since the 80s.
Yeah.
But I think now is a perfect chance to look at that, especially as the city starts to, move past some of the economic development we've had in the city in the past. We've always been heavily dependent on retail. We're starting to see a turnover of commercial space and neighborhoods as well. So I think the timing's right, and we're going to ask you to maybe come back a little bit later in the future to talk a little bit more about that, because I think it's really an opportunity for the public to really engage, and I think it's important that they do so. Mo, as we wrap up, you also run, as part of your duties, the city's planning commission and the zoning board meetings. Are those meetings open to the public? And if so, how can residents find out when they are?
Yeah, they are. So the Planning Commission talks about most of the developments going on in the city, and that's an interesting board for anyone that wants to learn about any new developments or construction projects or any small uses that are going into vacant retail plazas. We post all of that information on the website, but they meet once a month on the first Tuesday of every month at 6 p.m. here in the City Council chambers. If the Tuesday falls on a holiday, then we meet on the following Wednesday. And Zoning Board deals with use variances and people that can't comply with the code for some reason. They meet on the third Wednesday of every month at 5:30 here in the council chambers as well. And we post all of those meeting dates again on the city's calendar. So anyone interested in learning about that can come to City Hall. Anyone can view the agendas on the Planning Department website. If they have any questions, they can call the Planning Department and learn more about the projects.
Very good. All right, Mo. Well, we're going to let you get back to work. You're working on a lot of stuff. We appreciate your time. We appreciate that you understand and appreciate the importance of public engagement. And it's also worthwhile to note that the public meetings that Mo had mentioned and that Aubrey had touched on earlier, when you come to those public meetings, there is a time for citizens' comments. So your voice will be heard and is appreciated. So with that, Mo, we're going to take a break and we'll be right back with more In the W.
Thanks, Mayor.
Coming up next, Mayor Wild talks with communications specialist Megan Kirk from WLND Community Media.
calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. Our whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
Welcome back to In the W. We're going to continue our conversation today on public engagement, and joining us now is Megan Kirk, WLND's communications specialist. Megan, welcome to In the W.
Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
We're doing great, and we've been having a great conversation so far. We sat down with Aubrey Berman, the city's economic development director, and Mohamed Ayoub, and talked about ways that their departments are engaging with the public. And here at WLND, I mean, you guys you engage with the public day in and day out. Megan, your new show on WLND, In and Around Town, is probably a great example of public engagement as you're going around town and you're engaging with business owners and residents. And so how's that experience been so far?
Absolutely, Mayor. It's actually a really cool experience to be able to get out, meet the new faces, or meet some faces who've been here for some time, learn the history, get out and meet the business owners and kind of highlight their businesses and some cool and interesting and fun activities that are going around the city.
I was at the neighborhood safety, it was the kickoff of Chief Judge Ruzik's neighborhood safety program at Rotary Park, and I saw you kind of interacting with the public. And at first I was thinking, you know, they kind of came out, they didn't know that we were going to be doing that type of stuff, but I was amazed at how well that the around town was received by the public.
Yeah, so far the residents are really loving it. We do try on our end to make sure we're respecting their privacy, especially at the community policing event, because they are talking about sensitive information that's going on in and around their neighborhood. So we always want to make sure that we're protecting their privacy first. But I've come to see that a lot of folks love to be in front of the camera. A lot of folks love to be interviewed, to be able to kind of speak highly of the city and kind of educate everybody on what's going on in their neighborhoods.
That's true. Now, there were people that like to be on TV. Not everybody likes to be on TV, so that's why it's important that here at City of Westland and WLND that we engage with the public in other means. And we also have social media outlets like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and these are great ways for public engagement as well. It's a little bit different than what we talked about earlier, maybe coming to a public meeting and standing up at a podium and making public comment. On social media, you can do it from your home, you know, and it's a little more open, but our residents really use a lot of it. So can you talk a little bit about that engagement on social media?
Absolutely. So like you mentioned, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We try to make sure that we're posting our community events, anything going on in and around the city, cool news. We also like to make sure we're engaging in a way like, for example, 4th of July is right around the corner. We'll make a post that may ask, hey, what's your favorite 4th of July memory? Or post your dog in your 4th of July outfits, just so we can get the community involved and kind of show us what's going on personally in their homes and allow us the opportunity to get to know them on a one-on-one basis via social media.
Well, that's true. I mean, sometimes when there's a post, people jump either I'm on this side of the fence of it or I'm that side of the fence. But those fun posts, I actually see more, there's probably more response to those than anything else. And I think it does give people a chance to kind of weigh in and share thoughts and ideas. So on Facebook with the City of Westland, we actually are one of the more liberal cities as far as Facebook. We have it turned on where people can comment, and people do comment, and we appreciate that. Not every city does that, and I know there was some talk and consideration. I think it's important that we give people a chance to vent, a chance to weigh in, and you know, it's public engagement. We may not like it all the time, but public engagement is public engagement. So do you have any thing that you can share with people that use Facebook? Are there certain rules, or would you suggest somebody, if you want to participate in the city's social media, what they should do?
Absolutely. So on our Facebook page, we do have community guidelines, and we're just asking, you know, folks be respectful of each other's opinions and stances, and try not to attack or use profanity or, you know, things that will cause an uproar on the page. But we also try to encourage as much engagement as possible. We want to see those comments. We want to hear from you. So if you are not following us on social media right now, as stated, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And you can also go to the city's website, and those links will be available to take you straight to our social media.
So if somebody makes a comment, or maybe ask, not a comment, let's say somebody asks a question on Facebook, does anybody here at WLND, do they see that? Do they respond to it? How do you guys handle that?
Absolutely. So 9 times out of 10, I am the one or someone else on the team are reading the comments in real time. We're seeing the requests, we're seeing the questions, and we do try to make a point to respond, clarify, clear up anything that the residents are asking. A lot of times it's time, event spacing, things of that nature. So we try to make sure that we're interacting and answering those questions for them as well via social media.
Okay. You know, sometimes with social media is that, especially here at the city, we put out a lot of stuff. So if you're looking through it and you're back, say, a couple of weeks on post, and you answer a question, sometimes it may be hard because we're responding to the things that went out earlier today or perhaps yesterday. So if you do put out a question and you feel like, you know, I don't want you to feel like you were ignored or that you didn't get an answer, you know, just reach out to us, give us a call, and we'll certainly try to get the information. Or if we put out some misinformation, we want to know that too, so we can correct it.
Absolutely. And Mayor, we do have an email address that residents could use, and it's cable@cityofwestland.com, and you can shoot us an email over. We'll be able to read and respond in real time. All
right. Well, as we wrap up our show, there's one thing. So earlier today, both Mo and Aubrey talked about public meetings that they chair and that they're open to the public. While they gave times and dates, it may not have been something that our residents were able to write down. And while it may not be a meeting that they want to attend now, perhaps something comes up in the future that has their interest, or maybe it's in their neighborhood. How can residents find out? I mean, there's all kinds of public meetings going on all throughout the city. The library board, the planning commission, the DDA, of course, the city council, and the list goes on and on. Where's the one place that residents can easily find out all those meetings and even maybe take a look at the agenda?
Absolutely. So as the city ramps up, the summer's getting warmer, we're asking folks to go over to cityofwestland.com, and we have our calendar uploaded. We do upload it ourselves as well, updated with events. You can go there and check out what's going on each day, as well as read agenda minutes if you weren't able to attend a specific meeting. That information will also be available online.
All right, Megan. Well, do you think we forgot anything, or do you think we covered it all?
I think we covered all the basics. Make sure you guys are interacting with us. I want to read your comments. I want to see, so let me know what's going on in your neighborhood.
All right, well, you heard it from Megan. We want your comments, and we appreciate your engagement. And it's very important. I can tell you that as mayor, and I know that the city council feels the same way, we're tasked with making a lot of decisions that affect the city, and we try to make the best decisions that affects the whole city, and we can't do that without your engagement. So it's very important, and you're going to hear us talk a little bit more about it in the future moving forward. So that wraps up today's show. We hope today's show was informative to you, and we look forward to seeing you right back here in Studio W on the next In the W. Thanks for watching.